¿Qué onda? So I've seen about 1,000 people with their hot takes and their interpretations, their autopsies about what happened in the United States, especially in terms of the election. And since we're talking about the rise of far-right movements and fascism, a lot of people have been drawing parallels to what happened in Germany in the 40s, which is understandable. But honestly, I think that there is a time and place that is a way closer parallel to what's going on. And that is where I live, here in Spain, what happened back during the Civil War and during the Republic. So even the founding of the United States and the early unification of Spain share a lot of parallels. Both countries were founded as these authoritarian, repressive, white supremacist empires that used slavery and violence to invade a huge chunk of the world and exert dominance. And at one point, Spain was the largest, most powerful global empire in the world. And it was run on religious fundamentalism, authoritarianism, and extreme inequality, feeding the monarchy and the oligarchy. But this empire was unsustainable. So eventually all this inequality led to Spain losing all of its wealth and all its power and all its colonies. And it became one of the poorest countries in Europe. And for the average person, they were just the lowest standard of living. Is this sounding familiar? So after years and years of inequality, in 1931, the monarchy was kicked out of Spain and they had this republic. And even for the time, it was one of the most progressive countries in the world as far as women's rights and LGBTQ rights. And it was a government that was openly socialist, and there was also anarchists working in the government. And it was a time where Spain was reclaiming itself and becoming like a modern nation with really progressive values and ideas. But the problem was, half of the people of Spain didn't like this new Spain. They were reminiscing, longing for the days when Spain was this massive military authoritarian empire, when the country and values were run by the church, when men were men and women and communists and minorities and queers knew their place. Essentially, there was a bunch of people who wanted to make Spain great again, you know what I'm saying? So this powder keg of a situation, it eventually led to a military coup, basically a mass fascist uprising of people defending traditional values and the church and all that. And it led to a brutal, bloody civil war. And then eventually the fascists won and they retook over Spain. And that led to this authoritarian, Catholic, repressive dictatorship of Francisco Franco that lasted all the way up until 1975. So that's why here in Spain, when people talk about fascism, when they talk about the right wing, it's not just some buzzword, it's not some abstraction, just something to do for their think pieces. People have living memories of what it was like to live under a fascist dictatorship. I mean, people still remember when it was illegal to protest. People still remember dissidents and poets and activists disappearing from their house in the middle of the night, never to be seen again. I mean, to this day, there's still mass graves of people that are being discovered in this country from the brutal repression of this fascist dictatorship. So after the death of the dictator in 1975, Spain finally became a full democracy. And because of that, that's why Spain is one of the more progressive countries in all of Western Europe. I mean, it ain't perfect, but just as far as women's rights, as far as abortion rights, as far as LGBTQ rights, basically the pendulum just swung the other way after all these years of horrible repression. So I guess for me, when I think about this history and all these parallels with the United States, just what really worries me, what terrifies me, is that the United States may have to go all the way down that road, down that, where they finally let all these values of the US actually take over and be put into action, that people realize what the United States has always been about. And that terrifies me. And I pray there's enough people organizing, there's enough progressive and revolutionary voices to fight against this. And so obviously what happened in Spain is not identical to what's happening in the United States, but there's just a lot of parallels, and I think there's a lot that can be learned. You know, there's that statement that history doesn't repeat itself, but it definitely does rhyme. All that to say, all my people back there in the United States, y'all, stay strong, look after yourselves, organize, protect yourselves. Like, these are going to be hard times regardless. So make sure y'all look after one another and protect your heart, y'all. I love you.